So, 3,000 people come to Christ, and the church officially begins. I would suggest to you that in the book of Acts, when the word church is used, it's always referring to the local church. I do believe in a universal church, the body of Christ, and other passages in the New Testament deal with that. But when Luke is describing the church, I think that by and large, he's referring to the local church. He's talking about the development of the church here on the earth and the spread of churches throughout the empire. Here's another illustration you can use instead of the tree and the root system. If you like buildings, you could talk about the foundation of a building being doctrine and fellowship, breaking bread, and prayers, and then the same elements that we illustrated using fruit on a tree can be used using columns of a building. So, and you may come up with other illustrations that you would enjoy using to describe that sort of thing. Now, I just want to go back and talk to you about one other thing related to this passage here, and that is the fact that they were continuing daily with one accord in the temple. I mean, here they are right in the most sacred place of Judaism. And, you could view this as an invasion of the Judaistic property. I mean, they're right here at the center of gravity, if you will, of the Jewish religion. And yet, to this point, here at the very beginning, there's not going to be any resistance to this. That resistance will come a little later on. Okay, but what do we mean by the temple here? Well, I'm going to blow these up so you can see them. This is a model drawing of Herod's temple. We don't know exactly what it looks like, but remember that Solomon's temple was destroyed at the Babylonian captivity, and then it was rebuilt at the return from captivity, and it suffered some other damage along the way. And finally, around 19 BC, Herod decided to do a full-blown reconstruction of the Solomonic temple. Now, why did he do that? Well, he was politically motivated. He wanted to win the Jews. Ruling over the Jews was not easy for anybody. The Romans really struggled with it, just like others had. And so he felt that by doing this, he could win some points with the Jews. Not to mention the fact that he married a Hasmonean Jewess, and so there was Jewish blood even in his line, in his family. Now, the area that you see around the perimeter there, the largest area there, is called the Court of the Gentiles. And that is probably the area where the church would have been meeting. They wouldn't be going inside the main temple area, the temple proper, which is that very tall colonnaded area there in the middle of your picture. Here again, you can see the large patio on the outer rim, and that would probably be the place. That's also the place where Jesus would have entered when they were, selling things at the feast time, and he overthrew the money changers. That's where that would have taken place. Here's another shot of that larger area. And so one of the things I want to point out to you here is what we mentioned at the introduction to the study of Acts, and that is the way we go about outlining the Acts or dividing it up. And we mentioned that one of the ways is using Acts 1:8, a geographical outline, Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, the uttermost parts of the earth. Another way is to use progress reports, and we find at least 7. Some would insert another 1 or 2 as a progress report. But here I think that's what you have for sure. They're praising God and they're having favor with all the people. You see, at the beginning, people admired what was happening. Obviously, the Pharisees and Sadducees didn't, but because so many people have responded, they cannot do anything right now without stirring up a crowd and threatening their own well-being. But notice that they're having favor with the people, and the Lord is adding to the church those who are being saved. So, in a sense, Luke is using this statement to kind of wrap up the first 2 chapters of the book of Acts and what had happened there. And so now we are ready to head on into chapter 3. So you're getting away with a short video on this one, but I did want to take a little bit of time without being in a hurry to talk a little bit more about the temple area. One of the things that I would mention to you is that the second court, as you get into go through the next door, is an area that was called the court of the women, because that's as far as the women would have been allowed to go. But most likely everybody in the church is meeting in the outer court. Now, how long will that go on before there's some opposition raised against it? Well, we'll find that out as we move on through the book.